Our question was in relation to risk and reputation management, addressing the introduction of the NRL's no-fault stand-down policy. Why did the Rugby League Players Association object the automatic suspension of players under this policy, and whether its introduction has been a success? What is the NRL's no-fault stand-down policy? The NRL's no-fault stand-down policy is used for players within the code who are charged with serious criminal offences carrying a maximum jail term of 11 years or more. This policy prevents these athletes from competing professionally for their team until the resolution of their legal case. However, they continue to receive their full contracted wage during the trial period. Stand-down periods can vary in length, lasting from a few months to almost 3 years, as displayed by Manise Fanu, the Manly Sea Eagles utility. However, a key factor of the stand-down policy is that it allows NRL athletes to train and participate with the team's daily environment, allowing for a supportive network to be maintained through the athletes' difficult court proceedings. The NRL maintains the belief that isolating athletes from their team when they have not been found guilty of their allegations or charges will be unfair and detrimental to athlete welfare.
Why did the NRL introduce the policy? The no-fault stand-down policy was introduced in 2019 to introduce a standard for all NRL players to follow to improve and protect rugby league's values, foundations and public image built over the past century. During the 2019 pre-season, a series of high-profile NRL stars were involved in several serious off-field incidents that tarnished the reputation and image of rugby league across Australia and New Zealand. Some of the most notable incidents include St George Illawarra Dragons forward Jack de Belin, who was the first athlete stood down by the policy after facing sexual assault allegations. Jared Hayne, who was also arrested and charged with sexual assault offences, and Dylan Walker, who was charged by police for allegedly assaulting his fiancée. The incidents didn't stop there and involved Australian captain Greg Inglis, who was arrested and charged with mid-range drink driving and speeding, as well as Raiders player Jack Wyden, issued a suspended sentence for assault charges.
Why did the NRL introduce the policy? In a desperate and drastic approach to limit the unprofessional and unacceptable behaviour within the game, the policy aimed to improve the image of rugby league by putting the onus on the players to take responsibility for their actions. The NRL was put under severe pressure from sponsors and fans to take immediate action to protect the reputation of the game. The misbehaviour of athletes was felt at all levels, with grassroots participation programs dropping significantly between 2018 and 2019, as parents no longer were willing to place their children in rugby league teams with professional players being convicted of serious crimes. However, with the introduction to the no-fault stand-down policy, it has proven to be a success for the NRL, as in 2021 NRL junior participation rates reached an all-time high.
The National Rugby League Players Association, RLPA, is the organisation that represents professional rugby league players and works to safeguard and advance the interests and well-being of each and every one of them. Jack de Belin, a forward with the St George Dragons, was placed on indefinite leave in February 2019 following allegations of sexual assault. The RLPA promptly issued a statement following the incident's public disclosure, expressing their understandable dismay and acknowledging that the NRL has now put itself in dangerous territory. The RLPA, under the direction of Chief Executive Officer Ian Prendergast, protested the recently implemented regulation, claiming that the NRL was treating players in an inequitable and discriminatory manner. According to Prendergast, it's the fundamental right of everyone in our society to be innocent until and unless proven guilty in a court of law. The association contended that all NRL athletes should be entitled to the same presumption of innocence unless proven guilty as ordinary citizens. The RLPA additionally protested to the compulsory indefinite suspension of athletes who are stood down, citing the potential negative effects on their livelihood, reputation and professional athletic careers. The RLPA engaged in a private dispute resolution process through their arbitration in response to the adoption of the policy and the NRL's refusal and reluctance to alter their position. The organisation contends that the NRL's illegal power to alter players' terms and conditions of employment without due consultation, and the policies introduced occurred without the players' consent. After nearly 2 years of talks, an impartial arbiter did, however, concur that the NRL had the right to implement the regulation.
Which of these positions do we most support and why? With the NRL and RLPA communicating the differing opinions as a group, the conclusion drawn was that we support the NRL's stance the most. This is due to the NRL having no choice but to make its serious and influential stand to limit players from tarnishing the reputation of the league as well as the sport. Without the NRL making such a critical choice, grassroots program participation rates were essentially saved and sponsors did not withdraw their funding, allowing for the public image of the code to remain reputable. However, the RLPA do make a valid argument that it is unfair to suspend players until they are proven guilty of their crime. For example, Dragons player Jack de Belin was stood down for 2.5 years during his court trial, in which he was later cleared of all allegations and permitted to represent the Dragons again.
Overall, the NRL's no-fault stand-down policy has proven to be very successful, despite receiving a lot of criticism when it was first implemented. Over the past 4 years, there have been fewer off-field incidents involving players, which has improved the game's popularity, reputation and image in Australia's fiercely competitive sports environment.